This video is brought to you by Straight Goods News, Canada's alternative online news source. Visit straightgoods.ca.
First of all, there's two different companies,
Correct.
okay? First Contact and Prime Contact are both the companies that we use in Canada for the phone calling that the Liberal Party does. The New Democratic Party has a number, as a company. I don't know what its name is. We all do. It's what I've always said all the way through. The issue is not the calls. The issue is what is the substance of the calls. That's the first thing. Second thing is Prime Contact is a company in Canada. There's also a company called Prime Contact in the United States that has zero connection with Prime Contact in Canada. So Mr. Damastro is frankly full of it. The other thing he doesn't realize is that in all likelihood, the North Dakota, quote, North Dakota number is a ghost number. It's a cell phone number or some kind of a number that nobody can actually trace. Of course, people tried to trace that number during the election campaign, and we were never able to trace it down. In fact, I understand even the government of North Dakota is trying to trace down the number because it's been the source of many bogus and ghost activities.
Mr. Ray, I think this is what they're trying to get at, is that because
so you're making the case for them? I mean,
well, that's what they tried to make to us.
They don't need your help.
But the robocall, they're saying that the Liberals had spent $1 million on robocalls. That
every party spends money on calls.
Is it possible that some of these calls could have been made by
because
Liberals
these are
that made not about no. If you call somebody, you don't know they're Jewish, you call them up at 2 o'clock in the morning or on the Sabbath, they could have indirectly been your guys calling. That's what they're claiming.
No, let's be very clear. First of all, they made an allegation with respect to phone calls coming from the United States. That allegation is categorically false. That's a false allegation. Second point they made is that it could just as easily have been a Liberal person making these calls as a Conservative. That sounds to me a little implausible. During the last week of the campaign, we were not actively into voter suppression. That's a joke, Bob. If we were into voter suppression, we succeeded only too well, right? We were trying to do something very different. You have to understand, the Conservatives are showing all the signs of desperate stonewallers. As we get closer and closer to the problem, they are only able to mount one particular kind of defense, and that is to attack. So they will attack. They will make an attack on another company. They'll make an attack on this or that. They'll talk about something that's completely irrelevant. It has nothing to do with the subject at hand. The problem hasn't changed. I said today, we'll gladly show all of our telephone records. We'll gladly show all of our scripts. We'll gladly show all of our information. We'll make very clear everything that we did. I assume the New Democratic Party will do the same. The key question is, will Mr. Harper do the same? And that's the question, and I challenge him. I'm happy to do it. I have no problem doing it.
So you're saying there's no way that these calls could have come from the Liberals or from an agency hired by the Liberals?
They did not come from Liberals. And I'm saying clearly and emphatically they did not come from the United States. The fact of the matter is that this is a government that specializes in smoke screens and specializes in attacks. And they put their attackers out there, and that's what they do.
But I've talked to Liberal MPs or defeated MPs who said to me that they've gotten calls from North Dakota. They've named American states.
No. You have to understand. North Dakota it's the area code. It's the sham call. That's the common thread throughout all this. Yes, there is a North Dakota number that appears, but it's nothing to do with us, and it's nothing to do with Prime Contact, and it has to do with a number that's probably what we call a ghost number or a bogus number or a burner number, whatever the heck you want to call it. For all I know, it's Pierre Poutines' phone number. I have no idea what number it is.
But there is a company in North Dakota
that you're not aware of.
Could a local campaign do something that I'm not aware of? Absolutely. Of course. I mean, I'm not aware of everything. Neither is Mr. Harper, neither is anybody else. But I think...
But you used a firm in North Dakota called First Contact.
No, we did not. No, we did not.
There was someone from First Contact who quoted as saying this may have been call spoofing. This story was covered months ago.
No, I'm sorry. You're confusing two different things. First of all, First Contact does not have an office in North Dakota or anywhere else. Prime Contact is two separate companies, one in Canada, one in the United States. All of Prime Contact's numbers, phoning was done in the United States was done in Canada was done in Canada. Its calls are done in Canada.
Track record of a lack of transparency at Elections Canada. So are you at all concerned that Elections Canada doesn't have the resources or the power to effectively investigate the claims of electoral fraud in the last elections?
Yes, I am. I'm very concerned about it. I'm concerned about the delays in dealing with complaints. There was a complaint from the St. Paul's riding that went in at the time of the election, and we've only just now had an acknowledgement of the complaint. There's no accounting for what happens to the complaints once they're made, what the results of that are. It's not a transparent process, and I'm troubled by it. I don't believe they have sufficient resources. In fact, as you may know, the Chief Electoral Officer asked in its latest contact with the House Committee on Procedures, it asked for additional powers, more clear powers that it could investigate, more clear powers that it could independently launch an investigation and demand and require documents. And it does not have those powers at the moment, and that's a real problem. The third problem is that you receive individual complaints, but what we're looking at in this situation is the problem of the pattern. How do you explain the pattern? And that's why we believe you need to have a serious police investigation that's looking at all of the pattern. You need to have an RCMP investigation that's doing that, and you also have to look at the possibility that if we don't get to the bottom of this by that technique, that we have to go to a public
The Council of Canadians is suggesting a citizen-initiated lawsuit, and they say a citizen-initiated lawsuit would be faster, it would have results, and it wouldn't have to wait for the investigation from Elections Canada, which could take a year and a half.
Well, if they want to go and launch a lawsuit, go ahead. I mean, frankly, any possible way to bring this government to heel and to require them to disclose the information which is in their possession. They know what the contracts were with each of these companies. They know what the scripts were with each of these companies. They have this information. Mr. Harper can make one phone call. It doesn't even have to be a robocall. He can actually just pick up the phone and talk to a couple of people and get the answers to the questions. He could find out tomorrow who Pierre Poutine is.
Their legal experts say this would be the fastest way to have public access to these documents.
Great. Let's go with it. We'll go ahead.
Mr. Ray,